On the expense side, the big one obviously is player costs. That's right now at about 60% of our revenue, and that's a big number. And a lot of you are reading about the collective bargaining agreement winding down. We're going into what we call an uncapped year. That means there's no salary cap this year. And there's a lot of anxiety and hand-wringing where we're trying to get a deal extended right now. And you can ask me questions and I'll speak to a little bit about that as much as I can without getting myself in trouble with my former boss in New York. I'll speak a little bit about where I hope that goes. But the 60% on player costs, that includes everything, benefits, salaries. It's a big, big number, and it's grown substantially over the course of the existing collective bargaining agreement. Stadium operations is a big number, 10%, and on a $250 million operation, or 260, wherever we're at, that's 10% is a big number. Team expenses are about 20%, and then the big one, and again I look over to Bob Hurley. It wasn't perhaps as bad as then as it is now. Is our debt service. Pat Bowen has bought out his siblings, and he has contributed to the funding of the new stadium, the construction of the new stadium. The way the new stadium financing worked was 75% of the funding came from you all, came from the public. I'm assuming you're all in the 7th County District here, and then the other 25% came from Pat Bowen, and that number, that other 25% actually in total had to grow so that we could cover overruns and some things that we wanted to do, and he took out a big note for that. So debt service is something that kind of bogs us down if you look at our P&L. And Bob, I can't speak to the old days, but it's always there. It's hard to reduce because your temptation is to just leave, keep reworking the debt, and let's get the money back into the system for players so we can put a good team on the field. And that's what Pat's basically tried to do each year, and it presents a challenge for us. Here locally, we're very fortunate to have the support that we do from this community. The length of sellouts is extraordinary to me. We've got, if you throw in the Rapids and their new stadium, we've got 5 professional sports teams on an A tier, then we have some other B tier sports that are competing with us, along the lines of indoor lacrosse. We have a lacrosse team that we field out at the stadium, and things of that nature. You've got the whole ski industry, so you've got all kinds of outdoor activities in Colorado, and yet we still can get just tremendous support. And I think it speaks not only to the popularity of the team, but to the popularity of the game itself. And I don't say this out of arrogance, I say it out of fact. The NFL's popularity is growing in leaps and bounds each year, and it's astonishing to me. But it is there. It seems like people are willing and wanting to talk about the NFL 12 months a year. Certainly we find that out at our building sometimes when we're looking for a break. It's not necessarily there, but we're fortunate for that. And we're fortunate that we have the support. I think a lot of people in town, and maybe some of you are included in this crowd, believe that the Broncos are an organization that has the luxury of not having to work hard to get sold out, not having to work hard to achieve the kind of, or aspire to achieve the kind of success that they do, because everything's sort of handed to them with the support that they have. But I will tell you, when I worked here in 1983, there were probably 1 million less people in the market, and most of the people that are here now that doubled that size came from somewhere else. And we don't take lightly the support that we have. We've got plenty of competition out there, including some very competitive teams in the Pepsi Center, in hockey and in basketball, as well as the baseball team, as well as the fact that we have sort of an economic shift, and we have this downturn that's taken place that has kind of helped people or caused people to reprioritize how they want to spend their money. And so now more than ever, I think we face a greater challenge to keep that support, to keep our season ticket sales high, to get people to come to our games. I mean, if you look at the size of our building, there are 77,000 seats. I know most people announce it, but we announced a sellout at 75 because there's a lot of, I won't get into too much, there's a lot of sort of single seats and stuff that we put in at half price that are available that don't count on our sellout manifest. But we have 77,000 seats to sell in the I think it's now the 18th largest market. And there's a couple of other stadiums that are as big as ours in some smaller markets, but it's a real challenge to do that. And we're really grateful and really fortunate that we're able to get the support in this community that we do. In terms of big picture, what are our biggest concerns? I think the biggest concern, and if you noticed this year, television ratings for our games went up 11%. For the league, they went up about 14%. So there's a few reasons for that. One is people, as I said a second ago, are kind of reprioritizing how they're spending their dollars. And so they might not be going to as many games, or they might not be doing something with money on a Sunday afternoon. They might just be sitting at home and watching their television. Which leads to the second point, which is, I don't know about you, but the television I bought 11 months ago is a lot better than the one I had before. And it's 52 inches and it's high definition. And when I watch a game like I did last weekend, I watched all 4 games at home. And the presentation that those networks make, it's a spectacular show. I mean, it really is. If you like football, it's a great show on TV. And so what we're competing against is how are we going to make our stadium experience as good as, and that may be a reach, at least challenge what's being offered to you on television. And that's hard. That's hard because what's offered to you on TV today is great. You got a lot of menus there. You got a lot of opportunities. You can choose what you want. And the way they present our games on TV, it gets better every year. And I remember when I worked in the league office in New York for Commissioner Tagliabue and now Commissioner Goodell, Tagliabue would say every year, we can't let the stadium game fall behind the studio game. And that was back in 1992. And today, we're still chasing it, in my opinion, because a lot of what you see on TV is really appealing and really easy for you and very comfortable. And we understand that, so we need to figure out ways to keep trying to make the stadium experience better. The other challenge we have is capital expenditures, and for those of you that run businesses or in businesses, let me give you one example. We have to put the best team we possibly can on the field. That's the challenge we face every year. And so generally, every dollar that we have, we're going to do that. We're going to put it back into players. The problem I have, and I beat the drum and it doesn't beat loud enough or sound loud enough, is there's some things we need to do as an organization to put into some things we need to do in terms of putting money into the organization that will help us get better. We are one out of 2 cold weather teams in the National Football League that gets on a bus when it's snowing out and goes over to the South Suburban bubble at Arapahoe and Peoria. Okay, now there are 47 or 57 Division I college football programs that have indoor field houses. We don't have an indoor place to practice, and we need one. And we've got to be able to make those kind of expenditures. We've got to upgrade our facilities. We've got to upgrade things at the stadium to make your experience better. It goes back to my original point about the studio game versus the stadium game. That is why we get to the third challenge, which is trying to negotiate an extension of the collective bargaining agreement, and in negotiating with the players, get them to understand that we're going to need something back to grow the game. Because the way we're going to grow the game and make the game better is to make the experience better for our fans and make the experience better for our players, which will make the product on the field better. And so that's kind of the crux of where the negotiations are right now in extending the CBA. And the honest answer is it will come down to money. But if we get that money back and we can put some of that back into our operations, we feel we'll be able to grow the game. The pie will get that much bigger.